So one piece of good news as the Falcons head down to New Orleans to take on the Saints is certainly their passing defense has been a little bit better these few weeks. Now, understand, I completely understand the level of competition. But remember, a guy like Taylor Heineke last year threw for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns against Falcons last year. So one guy who has started to come back and step up has been A.J. Terrell. Over the last 3 weeks, this is from Pro Football Focus. Over the last 3 weeks, A.J. Terrell has allowed 9 yards. Let me repeat that. A.J. Terrell has allowed 9 yards. Don't know if you can see this on the camera. 9 yards is all he's allowed. He's had 4 forced incompletions, and the quarterback rating that he's allowed, passer rating, is 39.6. And if you look at the Falcons over the last 3 weeks, tying into that, quarterbacks have only completed 61.1% of their passes, averaging 154 yards, and have thrown 4 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. In fact, the Falcons defense has not given up a 200-yard passing game since Justin Herbert went for 245 back on November 6th. So the Falcons have gone a month and a week of not allowing a 200-yard passer. I don't think that's going to change come this week for the Atlanta Falcons either. And it's good to see A.J. Terrell getting back to some of that old form that we saw last year, right? Remember, Terrell came out as the second highest graded corner in the NFL last year on Pro Football Focus. Good to see him. And look, fully admit, transparency, he had plenty of struggles early in the year. Even with Casey Hayward there, he had plenty of struggles early in the year. Teams were not necessarily afraid to throw at him. And certainly the pass defense has been one of the big bugaboos. Obviously, Terrell missed time. Hayward's been out for most of the year. This passing defense has not been very good. Still don't sack the quarterback enough, so it allows guys to stand back there and be able to huck it around. And that's been, we've talked all year about the fact that this has been one of the worst pass defenses. This has been a group that has not been able to stop anybody, can't get off the field on third down. But at least that there are some encouraging signs about the fact that A.J. Terrell in this pass defense has been better over the last few weeks. And certainly Terrell has stepped his game up and coming back into number 1 corner form. And look, we talk about what's left for the Falcons the rest of the way. Okay? Baltimore, and obviously not a huge pass-heavy team. But you still have the Arizona Cardinals. You still have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You still have teams. Look, it's the NFL. Guys want to throw it around. Not everybody's like the Falcons. We talked about Falcons are the only team in the NFL that has a majority of run plays. They run it more than they throw it. Nobody else in the NFL does that. Most teams do go out, no matter what your quarterback is, even if it's Lamar Jackson or what have you, they still go back and drop back and throw it 25, 30 times. And teams have not been afraid to throw it against the Atlanta Falcons. And they've accumulated a crap ton of yards, a high quarterback rating, a high completion percentage, and plenty of touchdowns. So if there is good news, and we've talked about that, I still think the defense is better year over year. It's been hard through the middle of the season to kind of figure out what the Falcons' pass defense has been because they got picked apart. They did play some outstanding quarterbacks, and they were injured. You didn't have Terrell. You didn't have Casey Hayward. You're playing with, what's the guy's name? Cornell Armstrong and guys like that, and Darren Hall, with all due respect. I mean, Darren Hall is a nice guy if he's your 4th or 5th corner. He's not a great player if you have to make him your number 1 or number 2 corner. But we just talked about the idea of who's going to help Desmond Ridder out. Somebody's got to step up and help him out. Somebody has to step up around him. Maybe that's A.J. Terrell. Because, again, Terrell has been terrific these last 3 weeks. And if you've watched him, he has looked more like the old A.J. Terrell that we expected out of it. So for a team that certainly has not been able to figure out a lot of things in the pass defense, there is at least a bright spot that A.J. Terrell is coming back to form. And I think we've seen steps up from Richie Grant, from Jalen Hawkins. So, look, you want to help Desmond Ridder out? You want to help your rookie quarterback out? Okay, now's a perfect time for A.J. Terrell to be playing back at first-team All-NFL kind of caliber level. Good for him the last 3 weeks that he's figured some things out and he's been able to get it cranked up and going, as the Falcons in their last 4 games have not allowed a quarterback to throw it for 200 yards. Again, they haven't allowed a quarterback for 200 yards since Justin Herbert back in early part of November. So let's see what happens this weekend. But certainly it does look like that A.J. Terrell, at least from that standpoint, at least you feel good about the direction he's headed and how much better he's played these last few weeks from even the first few weeks of the season. I want to talk about our friends over at Locked On Sports Today. Listen, we appreciate you making Hittin' Hard with Jon Chuckery your first listen, but make sure you make Locked On Sports Today that second listen. It's the biggest stories of the day, instant reactions, big game recaps, and the take of the day. Of course, they are available on Odyssey, YouTube, wherever you get your podcast from. Make sure that after you finish up here, check those guys out as well.